to settle down. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had some delicious food and are even more eager to learn more from our upcoming speakers for IoT and digital wallet cluster. For the first talk of the session, we have two very special speakers for you all. Sorry, I was on mute. So yes. So welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had some delicious food and are even more eager to learn more from our upcoming speakers for IoT and digital wallet cluster tech talks.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. For the first talk of the session, we have two very special speakers for you all in the form of Ravin and Shyam, presenting macro open source for smart homes. Mr. Ravin Sheth is a renowned expert in the field of IoT and heads the Smart Things team at SRIB. Under his leadership, his team has successfully deployed Samsung's IoT platform, Smart Things. Ravin has also been instrumental in developing technologies that enable devices to talk to each other like IMS telephony. Mr. Shyam Siddharthan is an experienced architect at SRIB, specializing in IoT connectivity technologies such as Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, GSM, Zigbee, Z-Wave, Matter, and Thread. His expertise extends to working with Linux open source, where he has made substantial contributions to open source with a total of over 200 plus commits. Let's welcome Ravindra Shah.
I think good afternoon, everybody. I think after lunch, I see a much lower attendance here. So let's keep it and take questions. Yeah.
We'll take questions from.
Okay. Great. So I'm Ravindra. I head the Smart Things team at SRIB. and SmartThings is the default IoT platform for Samsung. Okay. So why for Samsung? Because Samsung is the leading consumer electronics provider in the world, and all consumer electronics is now getting connected. Unique platform, and that platform is SmartThings. The 200 million plus users registered on this platform, 100 million odd devices connected, around 60 million are active on a daily basis. Right, so it's a large platform, and we are currently primarily having only Samsung devices connected, but we also have around 10% or so, 7 million to 9 million devices which are from our partners. And our attempt is to grow the partner base also. Right? So that's the context in which Matter is interesting for us, and that's why Matter, we are one of the Samsung founders on the Matter forum, and we are one of the like sponsor top five, one of the five sponsors in this forum. Right. So today we will try to give you a brief on what IoT is a little bit, assuming that you have some idea, and just trying to bring in a context how consumer electronics brings, why it is important in consumer electronics and what value it can bring to electronics. Right? So this is a packed agenda. My colleague Shyam will help you with the second half. I'll try to give you a little bit of the Samsung business. So as I said, we are a big, large consumer electronics company, and IoT has been primarily heard of in industry. Like you must have heard of industrial IoT 4.0, etc. But automotive also, it has been very popular. But in the smart home field, not yet so popular. That's the journey that we have started around 5 years back, and now we see that large number of devices connected, primarily Samsung's devices, but we also have our partner devices. Primarily have a lot of services running in terms of how to take care of your pet, how to take care of your security in your home, how do you monitor your home, how do you take care of your well-being at home. All these aspects are enabled by the IoT platform. So to give you a simple example why IoT is just about having a device and connecting. Giving it internet, is it enough? Is that IoT? Just giving it net access, is it IoT? That's not just IoT. When you buy a device from us, from any IoT vendor, smart device, you're not only paying for that bulb, smart bulb, you're also paying for the network service, the internet service, or this cloud service that comes along with that smart bulb, right? So to give you an example, in some of the IoT services that we tried have been tag, is finding tags you must have heard of. A lot of controversies have happened with tags being used to track people, stalk people, etc. There have been laws passed now in order to prevent stalking, etc. Right? So this is another good example of IoT in our users' life, in our customers' life, where you can use these small tags to put on your keychains, on your pets. In some cases, Alzheimer's, people with Alzheimer's who their memory, have used them to track their parents. Right? So this is a very useful service, but if you just use a normal telecom network to get this service going, you'll be paying $100 plus for each of these tags. So these tags are made possible at $20, $25 because they leverage the edge processing. They use the Galaxy Web in order to find devices anywhere in the world. Galaxy user, any Galaxy offering. So these are some of the examples of how IoT can be useful in people's everyday life, right? So now, why is it important to get matter? As I said, when you buy a smart bulb, you're buying the hardware bulb plus some service that has to be continuously running in the cloud. It's like an account, like a Gmail account or a Drive account that you have on the cloud. That's also coming with that 500 rupee smart bulb that you bought. In April, second week of April 2022, okay, Wired, the Wired magazine reported a company called Insteon. They just shut down their servers. They completely shut down their servers. They deleted all the blog sites, blocking customer help pages. Leadership page also was deleted because the company had gone bankrupt. Okay. All Insteon smart home users suddenly found that their smart home is no longer smart. Their smart bulbs are no longer controllable by the app. Just work like normal bulbs on and off. You pay 500 rupees for it, but it works like any $100 rupee bulb. You can't change its color temperature, you can't do anything with it. That is the reality. If you go to AWS today, Amazon today, you will find that there are 20 plus vendors for any smart product that you buy. Now, what is your hedge? Talk about smart homes, you're talking about investing anywhere from 50,000 to upwards of 5 lakhs per home. You want products which are going to be at the mercy of business viability or how much that company may survive. If it was a car, it would still survive because a local mechanic can service your car. Okay? But it's a internet connected device. If the internet connected connection or the servers serving you are lost, completely lose complete services. So in that context, matter becomes very big. Companies like Samsung, Honeywell, Apple, our servers give some commitments, warranties, have incentives. Servers. Not so with some of our partners. Right? So in this context, this matter standard, and prior to matter, the only stable ecosystems were those that were maintained by big companies like right, made by Google, by Alexa, by Samsung Smart Things, and others, right? Or big telecom providers like Vodafone, Huawei, etc. So these were, and each of to enter any of these ecosystems, you had to get a certification. You had to be paying anywhere from $2,000 to up to $7,000, $5,000 to get into one of these companies, get a certification from one of these companies. And imagine you want to sell your devices so that you want to sell the device so that the user can work with Alexa, smart things, etc. So now you are ending up taking a product which takes $20, ending something like anywhere to $15,000 to $20,000 to certify this product. Imagine the amount of cost a small company, small vendor has to incur. Correct? So that's the background in which matter came into being. There were many certifications that each of the partners and each of the vendors had to go through. But now with matter, you can ensure that you can get only one certification. Devices will work with all the other ecosystems. The cost of introducing a smart product for a small vendor drastically reduced. At the same time, a lot of reliability increase for our consumers. Right? Because now, even if the vendor has no need, Matter is to be a protocol where a hub is involved from one of the certified by Matter Forum, and you work with that hub. You don't have to provide a cloud service. So even if you go bankrupt, your bulk will still continue working because it still talks to the hub, and the hub is controlled by smart things. You can run your automation, run your other what do you call lifestyle or like health services that are tied to that particular product. Right? So you can continue, and reliability is higher, interoperability is higher, security is higher also. Because the Matter Step Forum ensures that you are having like 128-bit in all these. Some cases there are 2-3 layers of this. So it ensures that your devices will not be hacked. Okay? This is very important. You may have one phone, maybe you may have 2 phones per person, right? And maybe 4 people leaving 8 phones. Assuming that's a large number. Maybe 3 to 8 phones you may have. But the number of bulbs in your house are of the order of 40. You're having some such lighting places or sockets, etc. Each of these are smart, and each of these are hacked. Okay? These hacked devices can launch denial of service attacks on government websites. They can launch denial of service attacks on your banking servers and bring down. Your home can act as a place which is launching hacking attacks. Security becomes important. Give it to small players. They cannot invest so much in all this. Matter helps there. Right? And of course, flexibility. Samsung, in the past, there have been a lot of attempts, and OCF and AllJoin. All these attempts have tried to bring an open source standard in the IoT field, but they have been adopted only in pockets and by large companies. There was nothing that was available for interesting for small players. So Matter becomes the shining thing, primarily because Samsung, Google, Apple, Alexa, Amazon, all of them have the promoters of. So Samsung has been like at the forefront, as I said. They announced the first support in our smartphone, our servers to help Matter devices. 2022, we launched our first product, the Hub, was Matter Bridge, connect with any Matter device or Thread device, okay, and bring it into Samsung SmartThings. They're trying to reconnect. Want to reconnect or it's gone?
No, sir. You can continue.
Yeah. So today, we have like 2 versions of the devices that are enabled today are on your left, primarily the edge control, safety sensors, door locks, lighting, sound-based media devices. But we are going to have the next version of the Matter Tech 1.2, which will also include some of the appliances. Right? So some of the appliance vendors also will have to participate, especially for energy management, security, etc. Right? So that is happening. Like cameras. Currently, cameras are not part of common pool. Some of the cameras may be one of the big reasons of camera or not very big. So most cameras are coming from some regions, some countries, which whose governments are not trusted. So you have fears that those cameras might be hacked, the privacy might be compromised, there might be your doorbells might act as a foreign monitoring device. So these are some of the concerns that are coming. Even though cameras are one of the most way of doing a lot of things, like, monitoring your neighborhood, etc. As shown by many successful products like Ring Doorbell acquired by Amazon. Right. So those are coming in the next version. So there is a lot of scope if you are a product developer. And if you want to make a startup, small device, Matter is the way to go. This is your overheads, ensure that we have good. So we will also provide a lot of terms of partners will join us, join Samsung in terms of providing you co-branding, marketing opportunities. We'll also try to make some of your products available when we are trying to sell some of the smart things to our customers. So that's about smart things and why Matter is important to us. To get a little more detail about what Matter is, I'll invite my colleague Tom.
Thank you, Nidhi. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to give some insight on the open source related to Matter. So here you can see the Matter is open source, which is connectivity and standard alliance. So they are the main promoters of Matter, and the code and it is posted on the GitHub, and the license which is used by the Matter is the Apache license. So this is the main open source module. When we talk about Matter, this is the process we have to convert for the Matter. But Matter is depending upon other kind of technology. Like for example, OpenThread is one of the technologies that we are relying on for the Matter for supporting the thread devices. There are two types of devices comes under Matter, which is one is Wi-Fi based Matter devices, and another one is the thread based Matter devices. For thread based Matter devices, we need to use the open source OpenThread module. So OpenThread is basically from the thread working group. So they are the main promoters, and Google is the main contributor for the OpenThread open source based on PSP, a modified version of this. And also from Samsung side, we have open source module called IoT. IoT is basically a open source module which support emulation of the Matter thread device. It has a UI and you can run it on the Linux PC. From the UI, you can emulate whatever the device you want, and it's also generated QR code. You can scan the device, then commission or download the device. So this helps the Matter development very fast. That's why we recently we announced. So most probably, like in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks, we are going to publish this IoT into the OpenThread purpose. And the license for IoT is the license. So let's see what's the open source approach for Matter. So if you look on the Matter community, you can see from the last 3 years the activities are very high. You can see like the major contributors are like Apple and Silicon Labs. So those are the 3 main open source contributors, promoters, or along with that there are probably around 400 plus contributors, actively contributors, because it means there's an interest of the companies towards the Matter. So the license, as I explained, it is based on Apache license 2, and it is hosted on GitHub as of now. So in order to do the open source contribution for Matter, so you have to do the agreement of contact agreement and also like the license agreement. Apart from that, you have to do a signing of Matter with working group. CLA, contribution license agreement. So another procedure for people like in order to attract or any companies to participate on the matter, how to like after getting all this approval, you have to create a posted on GitHub. Right? So you have to create a GitHub certificate kind of thing for for lab features. And it also follows the fork pull model. So where you have to do a pull request with the corresponding GitHub certificate. That's the model we follow for the matter of open source. So let's see how about the matter evolution and what are the features what is guaranteed here. So if you look at the specifications categorized into three categories. One is core specification, which is for protocol communication, how the device is. And another one is the application clusters, which tells about the data and the attributes and values. For example, like a phone of is a cluster. Similarly, like a level control is a cluster. Next, coming to the device library. So device library is the cluster, pick up the right clusters and create a product for which is device. For example, if you take an example of a bulb device. So it should have an application cluster on and off. Also, like you can have a brightness level control. Right? So level control cluster can be. So here the right clusters from the applications cluster specification, we will make the product. It's like the device level. And it is not, this matter is not just a standard already. It is basically it's a kind of a toolkit. So it has a specification. It's also provided a SDK for the controller and the device. So the manufacturers can easily pick up the SDK and they can roll out the product in a matter of weeks. Time. So there is no development cost need to be spent for that. It's like you can roll out the product. And also it is providing a lot of test tools for doing the development and for the developers of and also to make sure that the interoperability there is a certification program guarantees that the interoperability is. So coming to the various like how they are architecting or leveling up or the various levels they are followed here to guarantee that the matter specification it guarantees about a common application layer plus data model together running. So it will solve some of the interoperability problems issues because both are running together, and it's also provide a simplified setup. That's what the specification guaranteed to us. And also it's based on IPv6, so that like everyone knows about the power of IP, but coming on the top of IP, then so one of the superpower we are going to get right. So we can bring in all the star topology, mesh topology, self-healing, all those things will come in the future when we for the IP. And also it's providing a highly secured communication, like AES 128 based CCM communication. For that, it means like all the data packet which we are sending is signed and encrypted using the top algorithm. So that the hacking or the fixing or breaking of the packet is very difficult. Then if you look on that protocol access, they want that like a generic protocol which needs to be communicated to use so that it can be extendable to the cloud of the design aspect. And we follow some common data model, and then one of the other important factor that it should run with the instruments like microcontroller have like less than 128 KB of RAM and less than 1 MB of flash size. That is one of the design goal of the matter. That's so there should not be any huge requirement of the processing power and the memory requirement for a small product like outlet or something. And matter, as I explained, like matter is basically working on the top of two technologies. One is Wi-Fi and another one is thread. There was an option to, in future it may come over area. So right now area is used for a different purpose. I explain that. So if you look on the Wi-Fi, you always follow, as you know, like it's always for a star purpose. Like all the devices connected to the common access point. Same thing for here. It is used, and it can be used for high and low bandwidth applications. Here, low bandwidth applications can be sensor application. So just like a leg sensor application. The application running on the sensor. And it follows 802, ABG, one of the models. And if you look at the thread, that's the power we are coming here, we are bringing in is the mesh topology. getting to the mesh topology, there is no range distance or all the problems. Like 1 kilometer also you can cover to a mesh topology. So range problems is that also mesh has a very beautiful feature, self-healing. Some of the intermediate devices are down, you will find an alternate path by communicate with the coordinator. So those the power of the mesh technology we are bringing it to the third technology. This is basically 8.2.15.4, which is a low power band radio. And really currently we are using along with this thread. If your sensor device support thread, matter thread, then it is mandatory as far as physical to support BLE. BLE is needed for the commissioning of the thread device. So thread and BLE right now going together. So if you look on the data model specifications, okay, what is data model is like it defines about okay what are the node, okay, attributes, endpoint clusters, attribute, all those things are explained by the data model. Okay, and there is another model called interaction model. It defines about the transactions and actions. It's like what how the communication will be happening. Like a read cluster, write cluster, subscription cluster, all those things are defined by the interaction model. These are the biggest subsections in the system. And if you look on the system model, it tells about the relationship that manages the endpoints and the cluster. For example, access cluster, how I can provide access to certain clusters. So, the control clusters. So, all those things are coming under the system model. And cluster library and device library, these are mainly covered as a part of the separate specification. Talk about how the various clusters are, what are the properties of a device. For example, like a bulb which has a cluster like on and off, also like a level control cluster. So that is defined by the cluster library. And the device library explains about what are the clusters I need to put in to make a device. For example, for a light, I explained earlier of the light, on-off cluster and level control to make a bulb cluster, light device. So two major concepts they are bringing here in the matter. Like one is multi-admin and another one is a matter bridge. So multi-admin is like a matter device can share across multiple. Example, if I onboard a particular sensor currently on an Alexa or Amazon, and Google, in the matter we solve this problem. So we can share from the one ecosystem to another ecosystem. So that from any device, any ecosystem, you can control the same device. So this is one of the very good feature. So and the device will be part of multiple ecosystem. We call it as fabric. So another feature we are getting through this matter is like matter bridge. Like non-matter devices, for example, devices like ZigBee, Z-Wave, or BLE devices, the matter ecosystem. So that a matter application can control those ZigBee devices. Matter bridge. So this is one of the beautiful feature which is already available in Matter 1.1. So we are telling about like the Samsung Matrix role Matter. So we are one of the founder member of the Connectivity Standard Alliance. So in 2019 December 8, the working group formation happened. So all the top companies were part of that, but mainly like the Apple, Amazon, Samsung, and the Alliance were part of the 5 companies. We created that working group of the CSA Alliance. And further, a lot of companies have joined and 100+ companies. So, and we have ownership of the working group, and we have the voting power as well. So we also like for the open source contribution perspective. So we contributed some features to the Matter plus to the Matter Tyson module and the Android module. So we have success in the meeting. So we commercialize various products also based on the Matter products and then so we are promoting. So along with the launching the latest product to the market, so we also invite other vendors, manufacturers also, and we are allowing them to get it price. Our Samsung Now 15 to 18 partners are there that we got announced. So beyond what is beyond matter open source? We are talking about matter open source. So there are other open source as I explained, like there are open source like Kernel, open source by matter, and IoT from Samsung. Just see what is the thread open source approach. So it is by the open source implementation of the thread protocol by basically by and it implements the various the thread networking layer, device source, and board router. And it is based on PSP protocol. Yeah, the maintenance by the maintenance. So it is also like the what is how the contribution to the open source open thread. It is just follow the fork and implement. So there are many promoters for this open thread. So Samsung is one of them. You can see like the top contributor is the Google. So board router is one of the features we are getting the open thread. So where from the Wi-Fi network you can control a thread with the help of board router. That board router is one of the features we are supporting in our product. And IoT, as I explained, like this is a new open source product we recently launched. It will help to help the developers to emulate various matter thread devices in our development of the matter open controllers. So it's a BSD 3.0 license that promoter is Samsung. Soon it will be moving to the open thread process. So currently we support almost more than 9 devices, 500 devices, and that can be used by the developers for the further development of open source. So,
Thank you, Ravi. So, just one question in the interest of time we'll be able to. There's a question online from Abhay Sapru. He asks, with home appliances, smart homes, etc., privacy becomes a major issue and data being sold to third parties. How is this solved? Are we using blockchain or Web3 or some other protocols so that the data is not being shared without any consent?
Okay, to answer how, let's speak to appliances, right? So you have to security assume that banking level so far not. Where is hacking happening? Currently, hacking is happening by booting of hardware. Somebody will hack software, I mean, they replace the software on your hardware with malware. Right? So this is what needs to be. If you have been following the Samsung trajectory of launching Knox protected hardware, there's a trust, we give trusted hardware. That means you cannot root the Samsung device. So that's like the multi-layer approach that Samsung appliances are following. So all the Samsung appliances use the platform. So it starts from there. So you can't root it. After that, there are secure keys not allowed to take any of the transaction. Okay? And of course, there is encryption of all the data that is collected on the cloud. So that is also encrypted and kept with your consent. And every country is now providing data privacy laws like GDPR in EU. MENA countries are also having a variant of GDPR. Then there's the California protection laws. So all those laws are also implemented on the SmartThings platform. So you can anytime find out what data is getting collected, and if you do not want some of those data to change, then ask it to be deleted, or you can just put a copy of it by downloading from the website. That's how the Samsung approaches its hardware security and end-to-end security. That's
Thank you, Ravindra and Shyam, for such a great talk on how Matter is standardizing just the protocols for smart homes. Moving on, we'll move on to our next speaker for the day. So the next speaker is going to talk about something that all of us hold dear, privacy and trust. So let me just call upon Ramesh Narayan. Ramesh Narayan is the CTO at Mozart, a leading digital public goods organization addressing foundational digital identity of over 300 million people. At Mozart, he builds identity and trust infrastructure to help countries in their digital transformation journey. He's an entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience in building software, products, and solutions. He is also the co-lead for the government stack identity building block and represents Mozart at the Work Open Wallet Foundation. Ramesh today is going to talk on how open source platforms for digital trust. Thank you, Ramesh.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for the folks present here and the ones online. I hope to quickly cover my presentation and leave enough time for questions. The area I'm touching upon is very complex, so I don't think a short session can do full justice. So I'll try to see key aspects. When we started with Mozart, we were trying to deal with the problem. We were trying to solve the problem of getting people mainstream. Getting mainstream means basically access to services. Every kind of service, try to access the first question. Right? And it starts with identity. And that's the problem we are trying to solve. Identity is a problem not just into what we are trying to solve. I mean, it's across businesses, IoT, talk about, right? So all kinds of identity is important. So what I'm talking about today, while I'll be talking from a people, applies fairly well for businesses as well as for things also. So when we started, we wanted to try and get people mainstream, proper, trusted, legal identity. For that, we created this platform called Mozart, Modular Open Source Identity Platform. So we are an open source project. Our program is totally not for profit. We are housed at the University IIIT Bangalore. We have been running since 2018, and we have, at this point of time, deployments in 3 countries live, and a few more in the pipeline who are getting to go live. We have issued over 100 million digital identities as of now. And by the time the countries who have adopted us have gone live and covered their population, we will be covering over half of it as we stand. And there is tremendous interest in what we are doing. More countries are approaching. Our idea is to tackle this 1.1 billion people have IDs. We want to reduce. Right? What is Mozart? Mozart is a identity platform which deals with 2 things. One is the ID issuance. We are digital native, which means that the IDs that we create are digital. You can opt for printing a physical ID card or just use a digital. Second part of what we do is about how this ID is used. And that's where we have a whole bunch of solutions. I'll briefly walk you through. Just building an ID solution is not good enough because in all these countries where people didn't have ID, it's not that they have not attempted ID programs. They have. But then most of those programs have spectacularly for many reasons. But one of the big reasons why they have failed is because these IDs were not conceptualized well and they themselves were excluding people. Programs themselves were excluding. Either because they are too expensive or the rollout is not something that covers all regions well, or maybe the process is too cumbersome and it takes days together for get their enrollment done, which means that they are not going to spend that time away from their work, away from their livelihood, all these kind of problems. But even after all that, maybe usage of the ID was expensive, or the process with which the ID was done was not secure and not trusted, and the ID would not be accepted in many cases. So many of these things used to contribute to problems. So we wanted to make sure that we build something that is inclusive and trusted and also very useful. Like this ID can be used in various contexts. So we wanted interoperability also as a key factor in what we do. So with that, we started in 2018. We went open source even before the first build was successful because in order to succeed or fail in open. And our general availability was about a year into our operations. And with that, we started various pilots. Then, post these pilots, we also started going live in 2020. Our first adoptions were in the Philippines and then subsequently Morocco and Ethiopia. Now, a few other African countries and Asian countries are in the pipeline, and we are expanding to Latin America and Central America also. The platform has been maturing through these pilots and these implementations, and we have a long-term support version now, which has been available since early 2022. We are busy now building tooling on top of that, make lives easier for all of us. And apart from just building the core platform, which was an idea, we started looking at how to build tools for usage of the ID. That's where we have a wallet that we have come up with called Niji. And then we have an OpenID Connect based single sign-on mechanism called eSignet. And we also have started demonstrating how this ID can be used in government to be through a tool called OpenG. These are some of the big initiatives that we have. Coming to today's topic, what is digital trust and what are the solutions available today generally, and what is it that we are doing around this is what I wanted to talk about. We all talk about a digital future, right? When we talk about, I think we've been hearing this words, all we have gone through a series of buzzwords in the last decade or so. But what it all meant, two things. One is how do we move away from a paperless world into a paper world into a paper. How do we move away from queuing up and meeting in person, becoming profitable remotely? So these are the things that we look at. But these actions bring in new kinds of problems. Imagine you walking into a shop, going to the shelves, looking at what's there, you pick up some brand, look at it, it's FSSAI certified, it's good to eat, it's safe. You go to the counter, you bill, pay money, you take, walk. What happens here is you are there in person, you are able to make judgment calls. You are able to complete the transaction because you are there in person, right? And the transaction is happening instantaneously. So there is so much implicit trust that is enabled in this. But the moment you move to a remote interaction, moment you move to digital forms of interaction and long-running processes, trust is not straightforward. I recently applied for visa to go to the UK a few months back, and I had to produce tons of documents, all of it in paper. I had to go and give it to them, and they were taking weeks together to get my visa back. So I had to pay an expedition fee, which was to make sure that my passport is not with them for months together. Right? Why does this process take so long? It's because they have to verify all this information. They have to trust it before they can take a decision, give me a visa or not. And second is, all of it is physical process. If this process moves to a digital process, and if it starts dealing with trusted data, my visa application could have been granted or processed in a matter of minutes. Right? And that makes life so much easier for everyone involved. So that's the kind of future we are looking at. So how does that happen? We saw the number of parties who have to be there for this. Like visa, I have to give bank information to show that I have enough money to travel. I have to produce my tickets. I have to show my passport. I have to show where I work. I have to share the invite letter for who is calling me over there. Where am I going to stay? Lots of information, right? And most of these today we do it all online, right? We get the letter by email. We get the hotel reservations. Booking.com. Flights are taken. Digital boarding passes. But then I have to print everything in. But if all this information was available digitally, and if all of it could be shared, and all of this could be verified by the consulate, it would be good. For which the consulate should be able to talk to all these systems. So interoperability, ability to talk to these systems. But beyond that, can I trust the information that is coming out of it? Because finally people are taking decisions on the basis of the information. So can I trust this information? So trust and interoperability are key if we are to really achieve this digital future. Interoperability is something that we ensure by way of doing many things. We have open APIs and we have multiple integration strategies, not just online, but also asynchronous, event-based interaction, data sharing mechanisms. And in every bit of it, we take care of security and privacy. We keep the user at the center of it all. And imagine this. So we ensure that it's all regulated by policy. So, and we also follow as much as possible open. There are standards, there are specifications, there are open standards. Right? Best part is if we have open standards, it means that everybody has access. And anybody can build to it. If you have to pay a lot for the standard, it's difficult. So it's better to have open standards. If there are just specifications, is everybody going to follow it or not? Is there a certification program against it? A lot of questions. So we try to go the open standards as much as possible. But if it is not there, we come up with specs which we publish openly. And we also build toolkits around that. So this is how we have been focusing on interoperability. When it comes to trust, how do we trust any kind of digital interaction? So if you take a digital transaction, we will have to have the people who are part of the transaction, whether it is a person or a business, be trusted. Right? Ravindra was talking about how Samsung devices and appliances can trust them. Right? So this trust is so essential. We have to know that there is no man in the middle of somebody emulating something and hijacking the transaction. So these risks are very real in remote digital transactions. We are doing it in person, they are less of a risk. Right? So parties are to be trusted. Then is the data going through a secure channel? And even after it's going through a secure channel, has it been tampered with? Has it been changed? Can I trust the data? If I can do all that, has there been due diligence done? Is the process correct? so that there is no misrepresentation or mixing of information. First place. Right? All of these are very essential to make sure that, and each one of these, we have technology solutions that are underlying. Right? For example, if you want to talk about trusted data, the data can be digitally signed by using a known certificate, which means that you can verify whether it has been tampered or not. Channel can be secured by way of using transport layer security, as an example. So everywhere there are technology solutions to ensure all trust. And if we build a solution which ticks all these boxes, and it is trustworthy, and we can be transparent about this trust, adoption phase. Right? People are very comfortable then doing it. Today, if I go to Flipkart, I see a new vendor, I see a new product. I'm not sure of its quality, I'm not sure of the delivery. So I just revert back to my comfort. But that comfort zone can be established in any solution by ticking all these boxes and making it. So how do we build such systems? By keeping in mind the user in the middle of it all, thinking about their privacy, the security of their information, transparently demonstrating all this, by having the right governance in place and having a lot of openness. There is a bit of difference between openness. Transparency is all about demonstrating how we are open, right? Openness is all about letting others in to be part of what we are doing. Especially for us, when we build an ID solution, we expect that the ID be used in. So for people to use that ID, we have to open it up. And we cannot say, hey, this is my property. Every time you use it, you have to come to me. I will have to approve you. I have to give you permission. Instead, we have to figure out how to open it out when it will be easy. We are totally open source and open standards based, and where there is no open standard meets our needs. And now we are discovering a lot of these because what we are doing is cutting edge. There is a gap. And in these cases, we have been working with a lot of existing bodies such as you or the W to establish these additional specific new ones. And we have also been working with IEEE where we are driving around biometric devices where we have taken the lead. There is a lot of areas where standards are still required, right? And I encourage people here to come and participate with our efforts and see how we can actually define some of these standards, adopt them, test them, troubleshoot them to make sure that they are good, and then give it out to the world. So what have we actually built? Right? And here I would like to talk about the specific products that we have on offer. We have a trusted ID issuance platform where after all the process which requires proof and validation, we issue a digital credential. We use the verifiable credentials and we issue a digitally signed credential which can be used as a trusted ID. Right? So that's the first part. That's where our core ID platform MOSIP works. The second one which we have built is the wallet. We are part of the Open Wallet Foundation. We're going to contribute some of our modules there. We have a Bluetooth-based, Bluetooth low energy-based exchange for offline usage. We are a lot focused on inclusion. And we are also looking at cloud wallets which can be operated IVR or USS, these kind of solutions. So the wallet NG is the one which can hold this digital credential and present it, both in online scenarios and offline scenarios. What it means is that you don't need a highly available online service, or you don't need to have a desktop. Even in absence of all of this, your ID, prove who you are. And access the service that you are trying to get. So our wallet provides decentralized usage which enhances privacy, but it also brings a lot of trust because you can verify against a signed credential. You can also do presence verification for authenticator. So we allow a photograph or a selfie to be taken and compared against the signed credential, do a match, and that ensures that it is me who's participating in the transaction, not somebody else. Right? That brings a lot of trust to the transaction. So if I'm operating my bank account and unlocking my phone, today it could be me or it could be my family member who is using their fingerprint or PIN on the phone and so on. Right? That's about it translates to what you have. But when we want higher level of assurance as to who you are, part of the transaction, so we bring that in by way of connecting it to the underlying identity that we are offering. The EasyClick module allows you to say sign into your tax portal, health portal, or even private sector applications, banks, telco services, and so on, who you are and get access to. And that is where we allow consent to be given, authorization to be given, we allow filling up of forms, digitally signing an application, and so on. Last bit is all about social protection because finally we are trying to make a difference in the life of people. So we want to enable all kinds of emergency relief, or crisis management solutions, or social protection solutions. So how ID can be used in these contexts? We are enabling that all the user touch points, whether it is about proof of delivery of service, so that we ensure that the intended benefit reaches the actual person, right? Not some middleman. There's no leakage. So for all these, we have solutions in the OpenGPT platform. All this work is available in the open source. We are on GitHub. 1.6 million lines of code, 300 plus contributors. We have an ecosystem of 100 plus companies who are actively working and taking this, building components around this. We have an active community, community.mosaic.io. Please visit and engage with us. Learn more about us in our documentation. These links are available. I'll make sure that this presentation is also available for anybody who's interested. We look forward to all the support we can get this journey that we are on. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the session. I have a query related to. First thing is basically you already double. So definitely the IDs will be created and have probably a date also as to the double credential. So these dates are registered in any of the registry, ledger or something, because if someone verifier has to verify it, then we need a reference. So this ledger is our own ledger or?
Yeah. So first is we are not using bits.
Okay.
There is no ledger. They are for ensuring trust and privacy, which we have built in. There are identifiers. These identifiers are maintained at the integrity of that is ensured by the. So we are looking at a trusted issuer model, not a self-sovereign kind of issue. Because a self-sovereign kind of issues will lead to a lot of distrust in somebody means a lot of validity through usage. Until the time they are excluded. Right. So while personally I don't have a problem in any kind of identity which is from an inclusion perspective, we wanted to make sure that people are not hitting any roadblocks. So we have gone for a trusted issuer model. It could be any number of trusted issuers. And those issuers are the ones who basically bring in the trust. They have this.
Basically, issuer has to onboard into the MGC platform.
Right. So we have an OpenID Connect based model. So we just authenticate, just download the credentials. So it's easy to talk to any of
The verification is also as to like banking, if you have to verify my ID or the income tax, as you mentioned, verify my ID for devices. They have to onboard through IDs.
There are two options. One is if I'm online, I can do it through YDC. If I'm online, my digitally signed credential is already available in my wallet. It can be verified offline. There is no need to get to a central service in that case.
Hi, I'm Kenan. I have one question on the presence detection as we call it, taking a selfie or argument. Do you think that this really gives you an because selfie can be uploaded by anyone? What is the extra parameters you are putting around the presence in uploading a photo? All the integrity is it taken now? If you Google it, I can get Elon Musk and I can take the money from Elon Musk.
Yeah, you're right. So the whole concept of liveness detection is centering around not being or doing a photo of a photo. There are lots of algorithms to detect. So we have worked on a few, but we are not primarily a research-based organization who are focusing on biometrics. So we leverage a lot of the work done by others, right? So there's a lot of ongoing work around that. Just now, photographic can be detected based on the warmth, hinge. There are pixel changes which can be used to detect, or we can actually take a small video rather than a picture. There are many ways to actually manage liveness, and we are going to work on trying to bring the best practices in the actual authentic.
Even in that case, I can take a picture of someone and because it's alive immediately at that time. Are you going to insist on the device is going to take? Example, if you are going, vendor is there or a shopkeeper, it has to be captured by that shopkeeper's camera or it's like someone else.
Yeah,
The reason I'm asking, I think you want because everything what you've given can be done by the next person next to me. If I'm taking my selfie along with this person, I'm taking my product or my because in a transactions, then you are at a shop in a queue. Whose transaction is getting processed is also sometimes confused.
Yeah, I think there's no confusion related, but I'll explain how. So there are two modes. One is I take my selfie on my device, share. That works if my device is really trusted by the third party. Other is the third party who wants to trust me can take my photograph and do verification. In both cases, the verification is not against me as a person. My digitally signed credential. So the person next to me, if their credential is shared and their photograph is taken, and no party to the transaction, right? It has to be my credential and my photograph, otherwise it will not match. So there is no risk of somebody else coming in and being part of the transaction. I'm happy to discuss more often.
Hi, Ramesh. Thanks for the wonderful presentation. We got to understand about most of it. My question is around adoption of MOSIP. Or you spoke about interoperability, right? So, Aadhaar, if you take as a similar technology which is there in India, this is now predominantly used in payments. So the government is trying to get it adopted in multiple other sectors. So when you are taking this concept of countries or other countries, so I think one is the getting a buy-in from the government to adopt MOSIP. Next thing is also about how different entities in a country adopts it. Then interoperability comes. So what are some of the steps that you do, and in your experience, what are some of the challenges?
Yeah, the challenges are many and they change based on the countries that we are dealing with. They have their own vision of what they want to do and how they want to go about it. And there are ecosystem challenges, infrastructure challenges, sustainability issues, how is it going to be funded, how will it be operational. In fact, in some places they even have revenue aspirations around this. Right? So there's no straightforward answer. So we consult with them case by case, give the advisory. In most cases, we are focused on three things. One is how can FATF, KYC kind of solutions be better. There it's fairly straightforward because banks and telcos form some global norm. So it's easy. Second is how interdepartmental usage can be promoted. So, for example, in India we have this PAN and Aadhaar. Right? Similarly, how this ID can be linked to a functional ID like health or education or social protection. So those are cases that we help with. There also, I think, because they are distinct departments are running, it's fairly easy to get into a conversation. Problem comes when it starts with private sector using common use. That's where they try to make it. They start imagining all kinds of revenue models around that. So there we are promoting offline usage plus online usage. Right? Online usage would be required in cases where very high assurance is mandated, and offline usage is okay for low value kind of interactions where the government doesn't need to really get into the picture. So we are trying to promote that. And when it comes to interoperability, I can give you an example. So in India, we have the MRDAR, which is basically a digitally signed Aadhaar. But if I take that Aadhaar format and try to go and use it in some other country, they will not be able to scan it or interpret it because it's not really an open spec. So that's why we try to promote usage of open specs. Because our interoperability is about using this ID anywhere in the world also, not just across departments. So we look at trying to follow open standards and make it accessible as much as possible. I hope that answers the question. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ramesh, for letting us know the importance of digital trust and its role in open source world. Next up, we have Anant Nagaraj, who is going to lay emphasis on preserving privacy and identity. Anant has over 12 years of experience and 4G teams Texas Institute Coursera. He is responsible for technology, customer engagement, product management, and delivery. Anand's vision is to make information accessible to a large diverse population in vernacular and simplify human-machine interactions through speech recognition technologies. He believes technology should make our life easier and is an advocate of conversational AI and its role in enterprise automation. Anand will be addressing the topic, can voice biometrics preserve privacy and identity for verification and login? Anand, we warmly welcome you to share your thoughts.
Thank you. Hope I'm audible and you're able to see my screen. I think I'm able to see the screen, but hope I'm not.
Yes,
Okay, thanks.
thanks.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I would like to quickly talk on a few things that we are looking to do with voice biometrics. Right? Essentially, what is voice biometrics? All of us would have heard of facial recognition, fingerprint, iris scan. So even voice is very unique to an individual, and essentially voice biometric is a technology where we try to find characteristics or pattern which is unique to a person. And to do this, right, I mean, surprisingly, to produce a sound, our body, within our body, we use close to 100 muscles, all the way from your stomach till your there are 100 muscles that are more than 100 muscles that are involved to produce a sound, and each of us produce distinct characteristics in sound, especially that affects our pitch, tone, rhythm, and the way we pronounce any sentence or a word. right? So essentially, the whole voice biometrics technology is such that you look at all these parameters that are available in a sound that is produced by a human and carve out mathematically what is unique in those pattern and match that pattern when the sound is again produced to see whether it is the same person or it is someone else who is saying the same thing. I saying some words to someone else saying some words there, even though we hear the same words, characteristically it is very different. So essentially, how do you do that? That's all about voice biometrics, right? And coming into identification of privacy and identity, right? The biggest factors of any transaction today that you do, be it on the online channels, largely is driven through passwords or pins. And most of these passwords and pins that you'd have, I mean, there is a result that came out that number of people who have kept password as password or password 123 or the first few letters of a keypad, etc., can be cracked in less than few seconds, right, or a fraction of seconds to crack. So essentially, the whole knowledge-based authentication, which could be password, which could be date of birth, which could be pins that we use, or typically can be compromised easily. So essentially, how do you prevent the whole? How do you assure that a user details are not compromised? How is a user's identity protected? And how is this passwords that are typically based on knowledge base are not misused by someone else? And how do you bring in a trust for a user who could be a layman that whatever he is transacting online across channels uh, is not interpreted by someone else? How do you take into confidence of the user who is using different channels? So keeping this in mind, what we have developed is a voice biometric system that can act as a secondary factor of authentication or can act as a primary factor of authentication in certain channels. And for developing any good voice biometric systems, you need to take care of few things. One, can this be as intuitive as it is for any user? If you ask him to say a few words, can this be as simple as that? As a user, if I'm just talking to the system, which all of us could do and authenticate my that user, so the headache of remembering strong passwords or key numbers are not there. Can this work across different channels seamlessly? Whether a person who's accessing something on a feature phone to one person who's accessing something on an IoT enabled device to someone who's sitting in front of his laptop or a mobile phone and accessing something. Can this be available across all channels? One, again, there could be challenges that might come with replay attack, that is recording someone's voice and playing it back, or challenges like deepfakes that you have heard of. How do you protect a system against deepfakes? How do you protect a user against someone trying to mimicking his voice? Right, and again, also while we speak, we also bring in our behavioral aspects into it, like whether as a user, how is a particular word that I am pronouncing? Am I giving gap between words that I use? If there is the change in pause of, if there is a silence that comes in, or change in the silence duration that can come in while I talk. So these are the behavioral analytics. So essentially, a good voice biometric system not only does the unique characteristic recognition of but also looks into behavioral analytics, the channel it is coming through. Could there be a replay attack? Could there be a synthetic attack? Is a brute force attack? Stuff like that. How do you build a system that protects against all of this? This is something that we have been doing on the voice biometrics, and where voice biometrics play a strong role with respect to traditional authentication, say on a simple channel like telephony, right? Typically, if you have called a bank or if you have called a healthcare provider, before they give out any information to you, the first thing they would ask you is, hey Anand, confirm me your first name, confirm me your mother's maiden name, date of birth. someone who could superimpose or impersonate me would already know all of these details. Or if I'm doing an online transaction, if my phone is lost and there is a OTP that gets triggered to my phone, how do I protect a user against such attacks or such things? So typical challenges that you see largely are in these areas where either people have very weak password because they can't remember their passwords. And again, today, as an individual, you would probably have to remember 30 to 40 passwords across your different accounts, from your email, from your office email to your bank, insurance account, so on and so forth. How do you remember multiple passwords again? And tendency to keep the same password across all accounts is again security threat. And in most of the cases, we also don't have a two-factor authentication. And with technologies like SwimSwap, etc., OTP, which can act as a secondary factor of authentication, can also be complete. Other is password recovery challenge, like if you have forgotten your password, how do you recover it? Then sending an email to registered email or to a mobile number is again on a compromised state as an issue. So keeping those challenges, this is something that voice biometrics addresses. And if you look at other mediums of biometrics, which could also play in, like facial, iris, or fingerprint. Essentially, if you look at facial recognition, unless you do infrared along with camera to do the depth and the liveliness, there was a video that Apple published, probably where you just did you just put a photo, or in case of twins or using face mask, if your hardware and the software are not right, even like as simple as face masks can get through a facial recognition system. And also, if the facial recognition identity, if the image that is obtained at source is traversing through the network, there is a way of image leakage, or there could be that the images that are on different social media that you have put yourself can be used to compromise your identity. Iris scan, the biggest challenge with iris scan is required of specialized hardware which would not be available across all the devices. It is not easy to get access to devices like iris scan available freely everywhere or available in a mobile world. Fingerprint, again, a good thing, but the problem with fingerprint again is accessibility to device everywhere. There are few laptops and few phones that provide it today, but beyond that, have to get this in all environments. And also, we have seen like spoofing with fingerprints. I mean, people in Delhi would know a place like Nehru Palace, you can get a finger cap for $100. And if fingerprint is one of the primary source of authentication of yourself, there could be again a challenge that comes in. So what we have seen is there are good with each of biometrics technology. There are some challenges with our traditional authentication methods. Is there a way voice biometrics can address it? Yes, there are a lot of things that voice biometrics could address. Essentially, because any device that has a microphone, you could use it. So there is no need to have a specialized device. It works from a simple 500 rupees or 1000 rupees phone to a laptop to a complicated phone. It can work everywhere. Again, it is non-intrusive. Agnostic of language, user could use it as easy as possible. From a user experience perspective, it is really good. And again, there are sophisticated algorithms that detect the liveliness in voice, whether it is coming in from the individual alone, or it is a playback that is happening in the background, so on and so forth. And because of no requirement with respect to special hardware, etc., and it can also work on feature phones, it is a very cost-effective solution compared to other sorts of biometric, which requires specific hardware and availability of that hardware at places. But there are certain challenges that also comes in when you use primarily the voice biometrics. Could be the background noise, could be the variation that comes in with people's voice. Essentially, there are voice keeps changing for every human over a few years. So how do you handle or how do you handle that voice coming in? There could be also spoofing attacks, essentially deep fakes, where you could mimic, you could create a text-to-speech system of a user. In such scenarios, how do you handle or how do you ensure that the voice biometric system can be a foolproof method? So to address these challenges, there are certain technological advancement that has happened over last a few years. Few of them being in the algorithm side, largely on the algorithm side, to prevent protection on noise reduction algorithms. Also, probably the microphone quality enhancement. There is a significant improvement in the microphone quality over years. Again, speaker variability using a continuous enrollment that whenever you have verified user, you use the latest audio also part of your enrollment process, a continuous enrollability. And again, since you just process the vector file out of voice, you don't need to really store the voice files. And the vector files are always encrypted and stored. And because of that particular reason, you don't have an issue of transmitting voice over network where you could see other sort of attacks. And finally, with machine learning algorithms coming into play, you could associate patterns from behavioral analytics to give a strong protection against systems like deepfake, or even systems coming in from a different speaker where you could model out speaker characteristics plus the microphone characteristics. These are something that voice biometrics challenges are mitigated today. But does that serve for every purpose? I think no. For achieving a completely truly secure robust system, I would suggest that a multi-factor along with a knowledge base which also is continuously monitored with contextual factors. I spoke of when you talk in voice, it is about how much pause, what is the pause rate that you use, or what is the language that you use? Do you bring in multiple ifs and buts in your speech? Things like that, along with behavioral analytics. When you're doing facial, you could look at multiple behavioral analytics that the user would, movement of head, etc. That, along with a knowledge-based authentication, is something that can always help us have a secure which prevents, which helps us to really build out a secure network which can maintain privacy and identity. So this is what I wanted to share. At Gani, we are doing voice biometrics in a very large way, and we have deployed it for a few of the largest banks across the globe, and we have seen significant traction in it when coupled with behavioral analytics and knowledge-based analytics, because the channel that we focus is largely on telephony. So happy to take any questions that you might have.
Do we have any questions? Anand, we don't have any questions in the online. So if you have any questions, mail you. Hello, Anand, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. So we currently we don't have any questions in the online space. It's I think there's no questions, Anand. We'll reach out to you if we have any.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Anand.